All right, as many of you know, the act of rescuing dogs and taking care of them and treating their health problems and trying to nurture them out of abuse and mistrust issues that they have because of their past lives that you typically don't know but can guess at when you rescue them is a very important part of my life and my family's life. As I said at the start, we have 26 rescue dogs at home, which I know sounds like I'm a crazy person when I say it. But we have a house where it's kind of constructed on purpose, the outdoor space, to accommodate that. And it's something that is a great source of happiness and fulfillment for us, not just having the dogs, but the act of rescuing dogs. And then we did, as head get to the point where 26 dogs, even for us, was a bit too much. We knew we weren't going to stop rescuing dogs from the street. There's a lot of strays on the street. So we opened a shelter, an NGO for dogs, where we have about another 175, where we have a staff of primarily homeless people who have lived on the streets with their dogs, where they themselves bring their dogs and then try and place the other dogs that we have there for placement for adoption. And we've adopted and placed for adoption, I don't know, hundreds, if not close to 1,000 dogs over the last 10 years or so through this shelter. And one of the ideas we had, because whenever I see content on the internet about dogs, is I realized that every dog is so idiosyncratically different. You talk to anyone with a dog who rescued them off the street or from the shelter, they'll all tell you, my dog chose me. They'll all tell you about the unique idiosyncratic personality traits of their dogs, which is absolutely true because dogs are evolved to adopt to humans. But the act of rescuing a dog itself is incredibly profound. A lot of people think when you do it, you're engaging in an act of charity or benevolence because you're helping the dog, and maybe that is true to some extent, but I can assure you, as someone who's done it so many times, they do as much for you as you do for them. The fulfillment they give you, the understanding that you've rescued them, the role that they start playing in your life and your family's life and your kids' life is something that is at least as much as what you've done for them. And we've been talking about it a lot on the after show. Just started doing a quick segment at the end of each show that ends the week. Usually that'll be Friday. Because of the holiday, it'll be tonight, where we just spend about 5 or 6, 7 minutes narrating every story of the rescue dogs in our home, but also the ones in our shelter, because some of these stories are absolutely amazing. The way in which these dogs were rescued, the things they had to overcome, the way they've contributed to people's lives. And I just want to say, I think for a lot of people obviously love their dogs, but sometimes think, even for people who don't, oh, this is just a nice, uplifting dog story. And one of the things I think is so important, and my now deceased husband, who was in the Brazilian Congress, used to always point this out, that how a society treats its animals, how a society treats its dogs, it's not just about, oh, dogs deserve love and support and therefore they should have it, because then people say, well, there's so many humans suffering, why would you prioritize dogs over them? And the answer is because the less cruelty we have toward dogs, the more as a society and as a species we connect to dogs and to other animals, it improves our society as well. Lots of Enlightenment philosophers, pre-Enlightenment philosophers even, have often observed that society is more degraded, it's cruder when people are encouraged to be cruel to dogs, when they're encouraged to be loving with dogs and form relationships with dogs. They become happier, their families become happier, the society improves as well. And so we think it's a little bit more than just some lighthearted, nice way to end the show, but if you think it's only that, that's fine too. We do very intense, often heavy political content throughout the entire week, and so ending our week with a 5 to 7 minute segment on each one of these dogs, their trajectory, their story, I think is a great way to end the week. The segment title, I wish I could claim credit for, but someone on our team did, is called System Pupdate. I think it might have actually been even a viewer of ours in the locals community who came up with this title as we were talking about it. And the dog that we're going to begin with is a dog very known to the viewers of our after show, because every after show we typically have 2 or 3 canine co-hosts. We bring 3 different dogs, kind of try and rotate them so it's fair. And that dog is Sylvester. Unfortunately, Sylvester passed away very suddenly, actually, sadly, the day I was traveling in the US, and he had an aneurysm the day before I got back, and I only learned of that once I got back. But you learn to focus on the fact that even though dogs have shorter life cycles, all you can hope for a dog is that they have the best possible life, which for a dog means a lot of human connection, a lot of human love. And he certainly had that, so I don't consider this a sad story. The rescue itself was very unusual, and here is the story of Sylvester.
Hey everyone, it's Glenn Greenwald, and we are really thrilled to introduce our new series, which every week we're going to have a guest starring dog where we're going to tell you about their trajectory, their history of being rescued, their personality. We have 26 dogs at home, all rescues, another 150 in the shelter, and each week you're going to meet a new one. Here I am excited to present our guest starring dog of the week. Hey everybody, I'm here with the guest starring dog of the week. His name is Sylvester. He's actually a dog who often appears on our after show on Locals. I'm Glenn Greenwald here with my co-host Sylvester. It was actually another dog who was found by David. When David found him, he was already an adult, so we don't actually know how old Sylvester is exactly. David found him in 2011, so that means he's at least 13 years old, 14 years old, kind of in that realm, and he's still incredibly healthy, incredibly active, lots of energy. I don't really even see a lot of signs of aging, not in terms of how he looks or in terms of how he behaves. He's maybe slowed down a little bit, but that's it. But the way that it happened was there was a huge thunderstorm. I mean, a really torrential downpour in Rio. And at the time we lived up this hill near a forest, and David was coming up the hill in this car, and he saw a dog on the side of the road in this torrential downpour by himself. And so David stopped his car, got out in this rain, and tried to walk over to Sylvester, but he was so afraid of any person getting near him that he kept backing up and kept backing up. Every time David would try and get near him, would get on his knees and call him over, he would just keep backing up to the point that he was actually really close to a cliff. And if he had backed up any more, he would have fallen down this cliff and died. I mean, it was a huge cliff. And so David had to sit there and just kind of wait for him to come over. And all he really did was kind of inch over because he was trying to get away from David, and David was able to grab him. And when David grabbed him, he got aggressive, tried to bite David. But, you know, if you rescue enough dogs, you kind of know how to handle that situation. You know how to avoid getting bitten too much. You hold the dog in the back, and all you want to do is get the dog in the car. So he got Sylvester into the car and brought him home, and we put him in this room downstairs that we had used for dogs that we were rescuing, where of course you don't want to immediately integrate the dog into this huge pack of other dogs. You don't know if they're sick and they can pass viruses or other diseases to other dogs that are contagious, but also you have no idea how this dog is going to react to suddenly being around a pack of 10 or 15 dogs, or even to humans. So we kept him in this room downstairs by himself, gave him a little bed, water, food, obviously. I would say for at least 2 months, every time we tried to enter that room, he would back up into a corner and show extreme amounts of fear. And then if you tried to get near him, just stick your hand out even to let him smell your hand, which is one of the common ways that you try and get accustomed to a dog accustomed to you. He would start growling, and if you got near him, he would just snap. And we got bitten multiple times by Sylvester. But we knew it was fear. It wasn't aggression. It was fear. And we knew it was just a question of time before he would start to trust us. You sit in the room for an hour. Sometimes I would work in the room, just staying on the floor, sitting on the floor. So he got accustomed to my presence, knowing that I wasn't a threat. But usually it's a matter of a couple days or like a week at the most. With Sylvester, it was 2 solid months where he was so afraid. He obviously had been maltreated by humans, or he would never have reacted that way. Maybe a lot of different humans, maybe the people who had been taking care of him. He was obviously domesticated, but he had been out on the street for a long time, but he was still he wasn't quite as sick as most dogs that we rescue. Once Sylvester started getting comfortable with us, he became an extremely affectionate dog. And now, I mean, I wouldn't say he's the most affectionate dog. He's not the dog that when you get there, he's going to like jump all over you and lick your face and just like wag his tail continuously. But what he is he's the most intensely loyal dog. Like, if I'm anywhere in public, anyone gets near me, he stiffens up and he like growls and he wants to protect me. There's just like an intensity to everything that he does. Like, he was so intense at the beginning with this kind of aggression, and now he's just like just as intense but with love and devotion. Like the way he'll look at me if I'm nearby, or the kids, look, he really loves my kids too. It's the same intensity that he used to show us with fear and aggression and just like abuse transformed over time into the same kind of intensity, but all positive attributes. Again, I think that dogs that you rescue in terrible situations, they actually know that. I mean, it's a very anthropomorphizing thought to say, oh, he knows that we rescued him from a terrible situation, so now he loves us. I think it's just more instinctive. It's more kind of subliminal. And so when you get a dog that you rescue in that kind of a situation, the rewards are going to come back 100-fold from what you've given the dog. And also, this is another dog that we rescued as an adult, and we didn't have to go through like weird puppy phases or try and like have him destroy things or prevent him from destroying things or, you know, work him into adulthood. He was an adult dog when we got him. He was pretty mature. And now he's one of the most important dogs in my life. So again, adopting adult dogs, which most people for some reason don't want to do, even though a lot of people should do that, is something that I think a lot of people consider. In fact, for people, a lot of people who say they want to adopt a dog, everyone assumes they should get a puppy. I make an argument a lot of times that they would be better served getting an older dog. Sylvester is yet another example of a dog that we got when already an adult, and I can't put into words how gratifying it's been and how much we've gotten from him and continue to get from him.
All right, so that is the a little bit of taste for this series that we want to produce. I think we've already recorded maybe 6 or 7 of them, so we have the next 6 or 7 weeks. We obviously have a lot of work to do if we're going to do a dog every week, although we certainly have no shortages of dogs. And I think one of the things that you'll find that I find so interesting is that each one of their stories is so radically different. You know, here is Sylvester, very distrustful, very, to the point, very fearful. Took a lot of time to kind of transform. There are other dogs who just get there and they're just so happy and they integrate and they're super social. There's a lot of dogs in between. A lot of ones have really terrible rescue stories where you find them, they're near death and you have to nurse them back to health, and then you kind of can trace what they become as well. And like I said, I think it's a way to think about not just the dog story themselves, but the interaction between humans and dogs, but humans and all animals, and why that has become increasingly important in a way I think relates to the first segment, which is that we have so fewer connections, so less connectivity as humans, and we need that because we're social and political animals, that dogs have become increasingly important, and the way we think about them I think matters a great deal as well as just our relationship to animals in generally. So I hope that you will enjoy the series. Like I said, it'll just be about 5 to 6 minutes at the end of each week. So once a week at the very end on the last show. That is the debut episode of System Pupdate, and we hope that you enjoyed that as much as we enjoyed putting it together. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.